And I'm back with another video. I'm going to be changing the spark plugs of my 2005 Chevy Trailblazer. I got some ACDelco Iridium spark plugs. In order to do this, you're gonna have to take this air box off and move this out of the way. So in order to remove this, there's a 10mm bolt here and another one. Let's see if I can, right down here. So once you have these two loose, I've already loosened them up here. So I'll just pull them out. Set those in there so I don't lose them. All right, once you get those two bolts out, gonna need a flathead screwdriver, and you're going to loosen the hose clamp here and the hose clamp over here. And again, I've already unloosened those, so pull them off. Oh, also, right here, you'll notice there's a pigtail. Go ahead and unplug that so you don't break anything. Just gonna take this out of the way. Alright, now, there is some wire harness back there attached to this. So I'm just gonna set this up out of the way right there. And here's your 6 cylinders. These are your 6 coil packs right here, right down in a row. Again, these are 10mm bolts. And once you get those loose, you'll pull these coil packs out, and right underneath the coil packs will be your spark plugs. So I'm gonna break these loose, and I'll be back. All right, now as you can see, using a 10mm socket, I have loosened all of these bolts to hold the coil packs down into place. After that, you can unplug these if you want, but you don't have to. Just be very careful with the wires and the pigtails here so you don't break them or anything. And sometimes they do have a little bit of suction. There we go. And you can just pull this right up, set it off to the side. Make sure not to get this end of it real dirty. And you'll see straight down in there is your spark plug. Now you're gonna need a, I have a 3/8 ratchet here with a little bit of an extension with a 16mm spark plug socket. And I'm just gonna drop that down in there. Should be inserted. Down there, let's see. Not quite. Come on. Let's see. There it is. All right. Let's have a look. Come on, focus in there. They look kind of bad. I can't get the camera to focus on it. There we go. They're not too bad. All right, after checking these out, I decided they're really not that bad. They just need to really cleaned up and re-gap just a tiny bit. So I'm gonna keep using them for a little longer, and I'll just save those new spark plugs for later. So I'm just gonna go through and just clean and re-gap these. instead of replacing them for now. So I'll get this tightened back in there. So I bought this vehicle a little while back, and I didn't know when the last time the spark plugs had been changed or anything like that. So I was just assuming that they probably hadn't been changed in a long while and probably needed to be changed, but it appears that they are not that old, or as old as I thought. So let's get the spark plug back in. You're gonna get this coil pack back on. Make sure the rubber piece of that coil pack slides over the spark plug and not alongside it, otherwise it'll misfire because it won't be installed properly. All right, on to the next one. Another thing you want to check too while you're doing this, make sure there's no oil up in here. Make sure there's no oil on top of that spark plug there. If you start having a misfire or your engine's kind of running doggy, you might pull one of these out and see some oil on these coil packs, or down there in the spark plug well around the spark plug. There's actually, right along here, this valve cover has these donut-shaped gaskets that are actually like teardrop, actually. They're the shape of that hole there. And it's a rubber donut gasket that goes around that teardrop shape in between the top of the engine and the valve cover there. That seals that, keeps oil from getting down in there. If those seals go bad, oil will leak down into that spark plug well there and cause some problems. So go ahead, and when you're doing all this, check to make sure there's no oil in any of these. Because if there is, you might be having to take the valve cover off and replace those gaskets. Just replace all the valve cover gaskets, you know, while you're at it. But yeah. Continuing on. Let's see on this last one way back here, they just barely give you just enough room to get to this spark plug. But, you know, I've seen way worse things that are more difficult to get to than this. This isn't too bad. Just kind of show you what I'm doing here with these spark plugs, because they're not too old, they're not bad. Got these brushes here, and I'm just gonna like scrape some of that carbon buildup, some of that shit off of there, clean them up really good, and then I'm going to take my spark plug gapper and re-gap them, you know, to what they are supposed to be, and just put them back in. And that's what I've been doing on all 6 of these, because they don't look bad. They look fairly new. They look like they've been replaced not too long ago. They still got quite a bit of life on them, so yep. Okay, so really quick on this first one here. In order to get this out, you have to take part of this harness loose. There's 2 clips on either side. You pry them out, this pops up. And then right down in there, see that little hole there? There's a clip. You can, there it is. This clip, and you see how it's kind of L-shaped? Yeah. Once you get this piece up, you can use a flathead screwdriver to turn it, and it kind of twists out of that hole. Once you get it twisted out of that hole, you can pull up on this entire harness here and lift up just enough to get this bolt loose and pull this out so you can get to that spark plug and put this back in. Now, if you break that clip, you can't just pop one of those plastic Christmas tree looking clips in there if you need to, if you break this. So don't worry too much about breaking it if you can't figure out how that comes out. But it, like I said, it kind of a certain way you have to twist it and unscrew it, kind of. And then same thing when it goes back on, you have to twist it back up into the hole in there to lock it back in. It's kind of a weird plastic clip. Kind of a pain in the ass, really. So, you know, if you don't like that clip or don't ever want to deal with that again, just go ahead, break it off, pop you a Christmas tree, one of those plastic Christmas tree little clips in there. That way you can just pull it out with pliers or flathead next time. But I got it out, so not too worried about that. But yeah, moving on. Okay, so now I've gone through and pulled the ignition coils off each one of these cylinders, pulled each one of these spark plugs, cleaned them, re-gapped them, placed them back in. Should be running a little bit better. Not that it was running bad. I was just doing a tune-up on it and wanted to check these spark plugs to see what kind of condition they were in, because I had no idea when the last time they were changed. You know, like I said, I just bought this vehicle not too long ago. So, yeah. Word from the wise, do not over torque any bolts on anything or an engine, anywhere. Be very careful. If you have to, get a torque wrench, or just whenever it feels like it should be tight enough, stop. Okay. So, you know, word from the wise, every 20-minute job is only one broken bolt away from becoming a 3-day ordeal. Remember that. It's a true story. So, now that's done, it's time to put this air box back on, hook everything back up, and we're done here. First is the air box, and there is this right here. This hose has to line up with that nipple right there when you're lining this back up, so make sure you get that lined up and this hose on there. Those are the 2 things you gotta get lined up on that. And you can put the 2 10mm bolts back in on either side. Alright, after you get those 10mm bolts back in, you're gonna get this hose back on here, just like that. And then you're gonna tighten that hose clamp and that hose clamp. And you can either use a, I believe it's an 8mm socket or a flathead screwdriver. Now that those 10mm bolts are in, these hose clamps are screwed back down. You're gonna make sure to remember to plug this pigtail here back in. And that's it. That's how to change the spark plugs on a 2005 Chevy Trailblazer. Either that or pull them out and clean them, re-gap them. Whichever you need to do. Hope this video helps. See you next time.